Hello and welcome. Today we'll be going over the Kenwood TH-F6A. That's this radio here in the lineup. We'll be looking at it from a listening, shortwave, receiving perspective. On the table for size references, we have a lineup of radios that do either AM and FM and or shortwave, and in some cases sideband as well. Starting from the left, we have the Yaesu VX1R, the Yaesu VX3R, the Kenwood TH-F6A, the Yaesu VX7R, the Yaesu FT1XT, and the C-Crane Skywave single sideband receiver radio. And then we have our coaxial cable here, which leads into our 40-meter end-fed half-wave antenna system, which we'll be using for the Kenwood for receiving. Here we have the Kenwood TH-F6A connected to an external antenna. This coax cable goes to my 40-meter end-fed half-wave antenna system, which is lighting outside my room here. I normally use that on 40-meter bands with my HF radio, but I thought we'd plug in an external antenna to get some bands and demonstrate the capabilities of the Kenwood TH-F6A here. So let's turn it on. And what I like about this radio is that you can push the function key and the lamp key, and it'll turn off the lamp or turn it on and keep it on until you re-engage the option. I like to keep it on at night so I can see the display better. I put a little bit of a plastic protection on the display here as the main screen tends to get scratched up. Here we can see the radio is in lower sideband mode. Now you can either tune around, you can do a larger tuning cycle here, or a fine tuning to dial in any sort of stations you might not be able to hear or receive properly. So we'll turn up the volume, and let's punch in some frequencies here to listen to, see if we can get any stations. So let's do enter 3.845. Okay, we're going to get out of fine tuning mode so we can kind of scan around the band here. Might not be anybody on right now that I can receive. Okay, we found somebody around 870. So they're likely on 3.868, but I've noticed in the Kenwood TH-F6A, the frequency is slightly off, and I think that's designed on purpose from the manufacturer from what I read online, meaning it's not always going to be 3.868 on this radio. You're going to have to tune it up or down a little bit, and that will give you the precise frequency. If you subtract the 4 from here, you'll get the real frequency. It could be 3 in some cases, maybe 2 kilohertz. It really depends on the conditions of the band, the people transmitting, and the alignment of the radio. So again, the alignment of the radio is not exactly on beat, which is okay with me in my uses. So here we have AM on 77 WABC. Volume now is about 12 o'clock on the radio.
Vision loss is not something that you feel until it happens. Most people lose their vision from diseases like macular degeneration and glaucoma, not at birth.
With macular degeneration, you lose your central vision.
You have a blind spot right in the center of your face, so I can't actually see your face.
So even that little circle in which I could see became a big blur.
I was 65 when I first was diagnosed.
If we engage the attenuator,
Symptoms.
it completely wipes out the signal.
Million people.
Petersburg, Hendrik Uxvarov conducted the Collegium Musicale chamber choir. It's extra eclectic, where classical music is always arriving. I'm Steve Seal.
But that's not enough. They want more, so they see this as a success. Now, proof of that is what Joe Biden said in 2015. He was sitting next to, he was vice president, of course. He's sitting next to the current, this dope, this dumb, bull-headed moron, Alejandro Mayorkas. This guy, again, was utter contempt for the American people. Anyway, Biden gave up the ghost. This is what he said in 2015. Just listen to this. It's unbelievable.
Delta, Papa Delta, over to you, brother.
I'm having a pretty good morning. We'll share most everybody direct today. We'll turn it up to John, N8 LLC, KP9 UMI. Go ahead and pick it up, John.
Well, thank you, Mark. Good morning, sir. Good morning to everybody on the net. And Richard, thanks for the morning, of course, and Robbie. Anybody else out there, Jim, for the all that good stuff? We've had 1.78 inches of rain since this has started, so just over an inch and 3/4, and it's supposed to.
What I like about this is that it has an attenuator to it in case you get a very strong signal, meaning if it's overloading your front end here, which does happen with this radio, you can push function, and then we push the monitor button, and that'll turn on the attenuator. And this, I've noticed, tends to help clear up some of the noise on a frequency and allows the voice to punch through. It does attenuate the phone signal as well, so just be aware you might be killing your signal like I just did there. So in this particular case, I would not use the attenuator, but on a very strong signal, you would turn it on. It's kind of similar to the, I guess, the local and DX switch, if I had to make a comparison, although I'm not electronically sure how that's done on a shortwave radio receiver like the C-Crane single Skywave. So to change the mode, you push F, the band button, and it'll cycle through. We're in CW mode now. So we can kind of fine-tune it a little bit. Now, this is not the best for Morse code listening, obviously, because it's so wide open, and you really can't put a filter on it so that you can reject adjacent CW operators in the band. But for a handheld, this is amazing. This is great for a small, compact transceiver, VHF, UHF transceiver, to have sideband capabilities. And that's part of why I bought this radio here. It's just, it offers so much to receive. In addition to that, we can also do weather as well. So we have the weather frequencies as well here. I'm not sure if I'm going to get any at the moment with this antenna on it. My location where I am is not the best for receiving weather frequencies, but it is included on the Kenwood here. To get back out of that, we push MR or VFO. And it's also important to note that you can rotate between the A radio inside and the B radio. And you can also have both on at the same time. You can also have either one scanning as well. So I can push the megahertz button, and then I'll scan that memory bank up until about 50 on the memory. And then I can push the AB to go up to the top, and I can scan in that memory bank with megahertz. You can also scan all your frequencies that you have logged in with holding down MR in the same fashion as the megahertz button. So this makes this a pretty decent receiver scanner radio once you have all your frequencies programmed in. There's a bunch of other features that I won't go into with this particular radio, but you have a great customization with the Kenwood TH-F6A. Let's go ahead and stop that. And it's important to note, whatever band you have selected on the A and B, you'll get the RF bar only for that band. So you won't see that with the A band if you're just staying on the B band. Coincidentally, if I switch up to the A band and it picks up a signal, it'll tell me only the RF readout on that as well. Going back to the B band here, we can see we have a variety of different frequencies punched in. We have 40 meters, 80 meters or 75 phone, lower sideband. We have 20 meters upper sideband, 10 meters upper sideband. Again, 20 meters, more Morse code. We have 6 meters upper sideband. We have 2 meters upper sideband. And that's all I have programmed for the moment in the radio here. You can change the squelch here by pushing the squelch button. You can open up the receiver, dial it back. There's about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different positions. I tend to keep it on the lowest one here, or just 2 above, depending on my RF situation. What's also interesting is if you have both A and B engaged, there's a balance knob for whichever volume you want to prioritize, either the A radio inside or the B radio. So I kind of like that option they included with the Kenwood here. You can also label each frequency with an 8-digit alphanumeric code. I haven't done that with any of the digits in here, but I'll show you an example. If we go back to our A band and we push info here, which accesses the B band special memory bank, the weather, we can push the MN here to change the ID tag. And if you have an ID tag in there, it will say whatever you labeled it. In this case, this is weather I1 or 162.400. Overall, I think this radio offers a lot for the listener. It may not have some of the more modern features of, say, a C-Crane single sideband skywave receiver, but if you're into ham radio and you have your license, or if you don't and you just want a smaller form factor shortwave single sideband receiver, this would be a great radio to have because it offers you not only the capability to listen on a wide frequency range, both long wave, medium wave, short wave, VHF, upper VHF, UHF, and just below super high, well, UHF technically at 1.3 gigs. So you have a very wide selection of ways to listen. And what I found to prevent the overloading is use the attenuator and then change out my antennas. And then you can also use the internal AM bar in here in case you don't have access to a longer whip antenna of some sort. Now, I normally run with this radio with a small antenna on it. And just for demonstration purposes, I have my Kenwood 2-meter helical antenna. I'm usually on the 2-meter bands, and I don't do 220 or 440 too much. I just do 2 meters. So I have a monoband antenna, which is great at being very resonant for a particular frequency. And it does a good job at receiving FM broadcast stations and sometimes some AM stations too. I could say more about this radio, but I'm very impressed with it. It's a pretty decent purchase on eBay. If you can find this radio for about $170 to about $300, I'd say you got a decent deal. They used to retail for about $250 when they were going out of sale a few years back to about $289. Now, the radio generally comes with a clip here, a lanyard. It's triband antenna, which does 2, 1.25, and 70 centimeters, and a little charger that plugs into the side here. And like I said before, this is a pretty small, durable radio. It's rated for mil-spec C, D, and E, which means impact resistance, light rain and dust resistance. So it's not submersible like the VX7R that I have here, but you can take this outside in a humid type setting and it will be okay. I wouldn't go dunking this radio in the water, but Generally, it's a great, fantastic monitoring radio, and I would definitely recommend this radio for anybody who's looking to invest in a single sideband ham radio transceiver. That's all I have to say about the radio. There's more I could say, but for now, that's my general receiver perspective on the Kenwood TH-F6A.